More about euphemisms. These days, people who have jobs are called members of the workforce. But I can't help thinking, the Russian Revolution would have been a lot less fun if the communists had been running through the streets yelling, "Members of the workforces of the world unite." And I'm sure Marx and Lenin would not be pleased to know that today employees who refuse to work no longer go out on strike. They engage in a job action that results in a work stoppage. And if a work stoppage lasts long enough, the company doesn't hire scabs, it brings in replacement workers. And when it comes to firing people, companies try desperately to depersonalize the process so that no human being is ever seen to fire another. The language is extremely neutral, and whatever blame there is goes to something called global market forces. Fucking foreigners. And these companies go through some truly exotic verbal gymnastics to describe what's taking place, although I'm not sure it makes the individuals in question feel any better. After all, being fired, released, or terminated would seem a lot easier to accept than being non-retained, dehired, or selected out. Nor would I be thrilled to be told that because the company was downsizing, right-sizing, or scaling down, I was part of an involuntary force reduction. I really don't care that my company is reshaping and streamlining, and that in order to manage staff resources, a focused reduction is taking place, and I'm one of the workers being transitioned out. Just fire me, please. I read somewhere that apparently one company's senior management didn't understand the fuss about this issue. After all, they said, all they were doing was eliminating the company's employment security policy by engaging in a deselection process in order to reduce duplication. By the way, when those deselected people begin to look for new jobs, they won't have to be bothered reading the want ads. Those listings are now called employment opportunities. Makes you feel a lot better, doesn't it? More euphemisms. American companies now put a great deal of effort into boosting their employees' self-esteem by handing out inflated job titles. Most likely they think it also helps compensate for the longer hours, unpaid overtime, and stagnant wages that have become standard. It doesn't. However, such titles do allow an ordinary store clerk to tell some girl he's picking up at a bar that he's a product specialist or a retail consultant. If it turns out she's a store clerk too, but her store uses different euphemisms, then she may be able to inform him that she's a sales counselor or a customer service associate. And for a while there, they're under the impression that they actually have different jobs. These are real job titles, currently in use to describe employees whose work essentially consists of telling customers, "We're all out of medium." Nothing wrong with that, but it's called store clerk, not retail consultant, and not customer service associate. Apparently stores feel they can charge more for merchandise sold by a customer service associate than they can for the same junk sold by a clerk. By the way, if a clerk should be unhappy with his title, he can always move to a different store, where he may have a chance of being called a product service representative, a sales representative, or a sales associate. And I hope you took note of that word associate. That's a hot word with companies now. I saw a fast food employee mopping the floor at an In-N-Out burger, and I swear this is true. His name tag said associate. Okay? It's the truth. Apparently, instead of money, they now give out these bogus titles. At another fast food place, Au Bon Pain, I noticed the cashier's name tag said hospitality representative. The cashier. The name tag was pinned to her uniform. The people who sell these uniforms, by the way, now refer to them as career apparel, or even worse, teamwear. I had to sit down when I heard that one. Teamwear. Teams are also big in business, almost as big as associates. In Los Angeles' Kookaroo restaurants, the employees' name tags say team member. At a Whole Foods supermarket, I talked to the head of the meat department about ordering a special item. I figured he was the head butcher, but his name tag identified him as the meat team leader. Throw that on your resume. I guess the people under him would have been meat team associates. I didn't stick around to ask. So it's all about employee morale. And in a lot of companies, as part of morale building, the employees are called staff. But it's all right because most customers are now called clients. With those designations, I guess the companies can pay the staff less and charge the clients more. I'm not sure when all this job title inflation began, but it's been building for a while. At some point in the past 30 years, secretaries became personal assistants or executive assistants. Many of them now consider those terms too common, so they call themselves administrative aides. Everyone wants to sound more important these days. Teachers became educators. Drummers became percussionists. Movie directors became filmmakers. Company presidents became chief executive officers. Family doctors became primary care providers. Manicurists became nail technicians. Magazine photographers became photojournalists. Weightlifters became bodybuilders. And bounty hunters now prefer to be called recovery agents. And speaking of lifting, those retail store security people who keep an eye on shoplifters are known as loss prevention managers. Why not be a schmuck, a licensed practicing schmuck, or, if you qualify, a CPS, a certified public schmuck? It may not seem like it when you look around, but there's actually a shortage of schmucks in America. As a result, there's big money in schmucking. The average schmuck earns $28,000 a year plus benefits, and there are openings for schmucks in every field. The government is run by schmucks, big business is run by schmucks, and the retail field is crawling with schmucks. And more people are becoming independent freelance schmucks on their own. Call the Schmuck Technical Institute today and get our free booklet, Hey Putz, Be a Schmuck. Most people only manage to be schmucks at parties, but here's your chance to become a full-time, year-round schmuck. Give us a call. Don't be a schmuck. Be a schmuck. Here are my predictions for the future. In the future, the human lifespan will be extended to 200 years, but the last 150 will be spent in unremitting pain and sadness. No one will take drugs, but people will still buy them and conceal them from the police. Children will be required to attend school only when something comes up in conversation they do not understand. All people will speak the same language, but no one will speak it well. Science will develop exotic flowers capable of producing music. Most of these plants will be exploited by record companies. All farming will cease, and the land will be used for loitering. Although people will not keep pets of any kind, someone will still occasionally step in dog shit. A race of people living in the center of the earth will be discovered when one of them comes out to buy a sun lamp. Miners will exploit the ocean floor, and when trapped in a mine, the wives who gather to wait at the entrance will be forced to tread water. A team of astronauts will attempt to harness a comet and never be seen again. The human body will develop fins and gills, and beach property will increase tenfold in value. Man will learn to control the weather with a large hammer. A time machine will be built, but no one will have time to use it. At birth, religions will charge people an initial fee of $50,000 and then pretty much leave them alone. All the knowledge in the world will be contained on a single tiny silicon chip, which someone will misplace. People will be born with just enough money to last until they get seriously ill. The speed of the Earth's rotation will increase, and everyone less than 5 feet tall will be flung off into space, including Paul Anka. The sun's light will diminish until it is the equivalent of a 40-watt bulb, and people with highly developed squinting skills will have a survival advantage. Every part of the human body will become replaceable, but all parts will be back-ordered for 6 months. A utopian society ruled by women will emerge, and there will be peace and plenty for all. However, many men will still act like macho assholes. People will change clothes every 6 minutes, but still never be quite happy with their appearance. Cities will be built under huge glass domes, which in time will be completely covered by graffiti. Chickens will operate on gasoline, and surprisingly, many of them will get good mileage. Genetic scientists will develop vegetables too big to be transported, and they will have to be eaten right at the farm. The insane will no longer be housed in asylums. Instead, they will be displayed in department store windows. The oceans will dry up, and people will find things they dropped in the toilet many years ago.